Hello, welcome to Halcyon Blink. My name's Ron Risey, I'm going to be your host for this episode. And on this edition, True Crimes, Streets of LA. What's interesting to talk about this game? Well, number one, it takes up where Enter the Matrix left off in terms of jumping through the air with somewhat slow mechanics with two guns. It's the precursor to Sleeping Dogs, some of which have argued is a far superior concept because, well, you don't end up fighting an undead dragon. This game has so many different problems, chief among which is the story, which makes little to no sense at the best of times. It starts off as just a sort of a benign cop thriller with some kind of supernatural overtone, I guess, if you want to count the initial prelude as being alluding to something supernatural. But as the game progresses, you have multiple story beats that you can go down if you win or lose certain missions. It doesn't force you to necessarily win every mission. They have stealth mechanics and stealth sections and things of that nature that you can choose to forego entirely if you want to. But the main issue with this game is its repetitiveness. The crimes that you then set about trying to solve, they're not all that fun. They usually boil down to chasing someone in a car, chasing someone on foot, beating them up, and arresting them. That's kind of it. You never really investigate anything. You don't use detective skills or anything along those lines. Now, it's worth pointing out, this is PlayStation 2. So this predates Batman, this predates any, even LA Noire in terms of its ability to be able to utilize multiple mechanics. It's just a cat game. I do like the Kung Fu mechanics. I do like the fact that you can practice different styles. I like the fact that you can improve them in training modes to earn better bonuses in terms of health and strength buffs. You can also do shooting challenges to get better guns, and the guns become preposterous, especially in the cutscenes. Initially, at least, you get two sort of handheld six-shooters that look kind of like old-school 1980s cop guns. You then graduate to Magnums, then to Desert Eagles, then to Desert Eagles with silencers, with laser pointers, and other aspects. They look ridiculous because when you replay the game, say on the first level, and he hands you these gigantic goddamn Power Ranger legs and says, "Here are your guns," it just looks odd and weird, but I appreciate the continuity that the designers have employed there. In terms of other mechanics, like I said, you can dive through the air and shoot. The driving mechanics in this game are okay. You can improve your driving by completing challenges. Again, you get better cars and faster cars and more robust cars. You can commandeer vehicles in the world. It has a lot of elements of different games to it. If I was going to describe it in a nutshell, it has elements of something like The Godfather, which some of you may have played. It has elements of Driver 2. It has elements of GTA 3. It seems to be reminiscent, even though it hadn't been produced yet, of LA Noire in terms of a wide open city that you have literally no reason to explore other than solving crimes. But the story is the thing that's got to keep it going, and the story is batshit crazy. The main protagonist is seemingly uninteresting, and it doesn't really have any motivating factor other than, "Whoa, I'm cool. Whoa, I know Kung Fu." Good for you. Good for you. That's really cool and engrossing. If I'm going to recommend this game to people, though, it's an interesting game from the perspective of the mechanics are the best amalgamation of a cop game that I've seen on balance kind of ever. That's a strong claim to make, but you can literally go around arresting people if that's what you want to do. You can go up to someone and just throw some handcuffs on them and say, "Yep, you're arrested, I'm cat." They get loose. Real criminals don't, but it's a weird mechanic that you can employ. You can also play as Snoop Dogg, I believe. You can do that if that's what you're inclined to do. The graphics, for what it's worth, I think are reasonable, actually. On balance, they're detailed enough. They're kind of cartoony, but the motion is very smooth. The character interactions, the facial animations are very good. The shooting mechanics are satisfying as well, especially when you're in free roam. You can just and it's satisfying for what it is. The free aim mode, I think, is a little bit weaker than other games, but again, I appreciate that they've got to give you some form of mode because it's a lot easier to be able to pick people off in that sense. It's hard to recommend this game to a modern audience though, because there are examples of better games that do this now, like Sleeping Dogs for instance, which is what this game was originally, Sleeping Dogs was originally derived from this series, but made more realistic and improved to a large degree. But it's a 5 out of 10 experience. The soundtrack is pretty badass, I have to give it that. And like I said, the graphics are balanced for their time. The gameplay will keep you reasonably busy for a couple of hours, but then the repetitiveness will set in and the story certainly won't carry you for the day. So if you want to go back and play this game on PlayStation 2, I believe it may have even come out on Xbox, then fair play to you, but just know there are better games that are currently available, and there's not much nostalgic value that's attached to this game in terms of the mechanics or the story that it employed. So thanks very much for watching this episode of Halcyon Blink. Please like, share, subscribe, check out some of the other content creators in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, and as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Halcyon Blink.